Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hey everybody, it's Sunday again. We're back.
We're back. I can't help. Your son was just in here and he was doing impersonations. He's so funny.
He is hilarious. In fact, one of the things he typed on my paper is Mason is cool. So we will go ahead and say that.
There you go. Mason is cool.
He is a cool kid.
He is. He's so funny.
Love him so much. He's going to camp tomorrow. They didn't get to have it last year. So he's all excited.
Oh, that'd be fun.
He's busy. He's doing his volunteer firefighting now. And
dude, your kids have, I feel old because they're now doing their own separate, like,
I know.
Just like when we were that age.
Yeah. It's weird though. Cause I think my heart will always see them as 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And Sarah Rose is 3 and 4. And now they're just little adults, and it's bittersweet.
Yeah, so your oldest is helping with our production at the theater.
She's so excited to be the student director.
Yeah, and she's like publicly speaking, which she was okay with. I was shocked.
Yeah, she's always been very shy, but this has definitely helped her come out of her shell, and she's made some really good friends through this. So.
Yeah, and her makeup.
Yeah,
she sent me the picture the other night.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, because this play is about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And so she loves doing makeup for productions, and man.
Very talented.
Yeah, super good. And so it's going to be a busy summer with 2 teenagers and a 10-year-old too. Because my youngest, Sarah Rose, is very involved in this too.
Yeah.
She's like the backstage hand, and she's so bossy, but in a good way.
Dude, she can pull that curtain better than any man I've seen do it.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like in the air pulling it.
I know, right?
Yeah. It's not easy. It's heavy.
No, it's heavy. I had to do it a couple of times, and I had blisters.
Yeah.
So we have more stickers coming on June 11th. Right now, we are out. So those of you who have ordered in the last 4 days, you will probably, we're going to send them out that day.
Yeah.
So we haven't forgotten about you. I did miss a couple. So you guys have been good about saying, hey, I ordered one. Here's my address again. Thank you. Like we said on the previous episode, we're going to update the website this week, and we're probably going to have a little order form for free stickers. And then we also, like we said, have had a lot of requests for t-shirts and coffee mugs and things like that. So we're going to work on that this week.
Yeah.
And now we have some listeners that are coming through our area later this month that we're going to meet up with.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
It'd be so fun.
Yeah.
We're going to go have lunch or dinner or something. And so that's really cool.
Yeah, that'll be neat.
Okay, so I have to give a big shout out to Debbie and Bailey from Florida. She sent a lot of links for us to catch up on this Tristyn Bailey murder.
That's awesome.
I kind of read the news about it, but then got into an article a few days ago, and I said, this would be a good case for us to cover.
Yeah.
So Debbie and Bailey, what's up, guys? We appreciate you. She sent me a picture of her grandkids. Beautiful. So we just want to say hey to you guys.
Hello.
All right. So we're going to jump into this Tristyn Bailey murder. She's 13 years old, or was 13 years old. And so Aiden Fucci, who is 14, is accused of murdering her.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they both attended Patriot Oak School in St. Augustine, Florida. And classmates say they were friends, but not a couple. And we really don't know the background right now of, were they close? Were they, just acquaintances? We just don't know yet.
Yeah.
Or if it's out there, I haven't been able to find it.
Yep. So arraignment is set for June 10th at 9 a.m. But with Aiden pleading not guilty, his attorney can waive his appearance at the arraignment. Pretrial hearing is set for July 28th at 9 a.m.
Yeah. So Tristyn was in the 7th grade, and she was a cheerleader and captain of the squad and was very popular in school. And in fact, Tanya White, who taught Kristen cheerleading, said she just lit up the room, and her smile and her spunk was just amazing.
Wow.
Just crazy. This is such a brutal crime. I don't even know what to think about it. And if you remember, this went very viral in the news and online. He is the kid that posted the Snapchat from the back of the patrol car, and he had a peace sign up in the air with the caption, "Hey guys, anybody see Tristyn lately?" Investigators say they'll use that Snapchat against him eventually at trial to show that he was proud of what he did.
That's horrible.
I've covered a lot of cases in my day. I don't think I've ever covered a case where something like that happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's just cold-blooded.
Oh my gosh. Very cold-blooded. There's some major issues with this kid, I think.
Yeah, it's like a psychopath.
Yeah. So he's 14, and he's been charged as an adult with her murder. And now he faces life without parole. But what about the minimum?
So the minimum he could get under Florida law is 40 years. He will likely appeal if found guilty, and he will get life without parole eventually due to an effort to reduce sentences for juveniles.
Yeah, so if he gets life without parole, at the age of 25, he would be up for review because they're trying to reduce juvenile sentences in Florida. But this has got to be an exception.
Oh, my goodness.
He would also get certain benefits and accommodations due to his age at the time of the murder while he's incarcerated. And while the crime itself was death penalty eligible, he is not eligible for it because of his age.
Wow.
So he's pled not guilty, and they said he hasn't confessed. So he has no prior criminal record, according to law enforcement. But the one thing I was surprised about, he looks very small, but he's not. He's 5'11" and 180.
Oh, wow.
He just looks very small on the videos.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see he was a big kid.
Yeah. So he was originally charged with second-degree murder, right?
Yeah.
But those charges were upgraded to first-degree premeditated murder by a grand jury.
Yeah, and one of the deciding factors in upgrading the charges was that they could prove premeditation just on the number of stab wounds, which was 114.
That's crazy.
And in fact, the sheriff or somebody who updated the media on the case said premeditation is 114 stab wounds. You have like 228 times he had to raise his arm and go down with that.
Wow.
So every time he stabbed her, that's premeditation because he was planning on killing her as he's killing her.
Yeah.
So there was a big uproar about charging him. The public wanted him charged as an adult. There was actually one online petition that got over 600,000 signatures.
Wow.
And those don't influence the decision really, but it speaks volumes about the public opinion of the murder.
Sure.
So right now he's being held without bond in the Duval County Jail, but they're going to separate him from the adult population just because there's probably going to be a threat to him.
Yeah, and that's normal. I've seen that. We've seen that in other cases as well.
Oh, yeah. So let's walk through the timeline of when she was last seen.
Okay. So she was last seen by her family at 12 a.m. on Sunday, May 9th.
Yep.
At 1:14 a.m., she was last seen at a community center in St. Johns County. At 1:45 a.m., she is seen walking with Aiden on a home surveillance system. Yeah,
and this was a very well-to-do neighborhood, so I bet they have a lot of ring footage or camera footage.
Yeah.
If they were able to be seen. So at 1:45, she is seen walking with Aiden. Then at 3:27 a.m., only Aiden is seen walking on surveillance, and he has his shoes in his hands. And while he was waiting to be interviewed by police in the interrogation room, his mother asked him why he was carrying his shoes, and he said his feet hurt.
Okay, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah. So 10 a.m., parents called 911 to report her missing.
You good?
I'm good. I got a tickle in my throat.
So at 6 p.m. on Mother's Day, her body was found, and it was 0.3 miles away from his home, from Aiden's house near a retention pond And her body was found by a neighbor who had joined the search. She was found fully clothed, but authorities have not said if there was evidence of a sexual assault.
Okay. So the medical examiner said the cause of death was sharp force trauma by stabbing. And just like we said, she was stabbed 114 times. She also had a significant head injury. The broken tip of the knife lodged in her skull. I totally, that's rage killing.
Yeah, because every time you watch a crime show when there's a stabbing, they always say stabbing takes effort. It is, with a gun, you shoot, you're done.
Yeah. Stabbing
that many times is because she was fighting him, and we'll talk about her wounds later that showed she was trying to defend herself. It's just insane. And man, her poor mother, to find out her daughter is dead on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
They have a very close family. They call themselves the Bailey 7. And I think she's one of 5 siblings. And I've looked at their Facebook pages. They look like a really happy family. There's videos of Tristyn with her niece, her baby niece. And, she just looks like a typical 13-year-old.
Yeah. So of the stab wounds, 49 were to the hands, arms, and head, which is what we just talked about being defensive wounds.
I mean, that poor child suffered immensely before her body gave in.
Yeah.
That 49 times where she is, because you have to think, that's like, 98 times he had to raise his arm? So that had to have taken a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
So Aiden was known to carry a Bowie-style knife, which was recovered from the nearby retention pond.
Yeah, and I wonder if that knife had like a stopper on it, because one of the common things, especially when they're interviewing subjects who are suspected of stabbing someone, blood is very slippery. And so what often happens is these people end up cutting their hands because the knife slides down. It makes my jaw hurt to even think about that.
Oh, yeah.
But on the video where he's at his very first arraignment, he kind of puts his hands up through his hair, running his hands through his hair. It seems kind of nervous. I don't know. He didn't seem remorseful. The only thing that I saw was maybe a cut on his middle finger, kind of on top of the fingernail. But I didn't see a lot of injury, so we don't know if it had a stopper. It kind of reduces, your hand from sliding down on the blade, or he could have had gloves. We just don't know.
Yeah, and a Bowie knife is kind of like I call it a Rambo knife, like in the movie Rambo that what's his name? Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. So.
Yeah. So he told investigators that he got into a fight with Tristyn and pushed her down, which caused her head trauma, which makes no sense if she's got part of a blade sticking in her head.
Yeah. And they'll be able to tell at what time that came. Was it before the stabbings or after? Yeah,
they can tell. But it seems to me like if the tip was broken off, I would think maybe towards the end. Because,
it would have to.
Yeah, I mean, because with that many stab wounds, it would just be hard with I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of not pleasant to think about. No. But then even if it is broken off and he uses enough force, there's still going to be a sharp edge on that knife.
Oh, yeah.
So, this bothers me. I have kids near this age.
Oh, I know.
It's just...
It's sick, and it's just hard to comprehend.
It really is. I mean, this is probably one of the most vicious murders that I've ever covered.
Yeah.
And they're all vicious. It's just, this is so... what do you call it? Egregious?
Yeah, we've been covering adults hurting children.
Yeah,
and now we're covering a kid hurting a kid.
Yeah.
So Aiden rode with deputies to where he was last seen with Tristyn. His story changed as he spoke with deputies.
Yeah. So in his bedroom, they found shoes, a pair of blue jeans, and a shirt with blood on them, and it's the same clothes he was seen in the surveillance video. And he was arrested at 3:33 a.m. on May the 10th.
Yeah, so he had his first appearance that Tuesday. In his first appearance before the charges were upgraded, Aiden closed his eyes and breathed in when the judge said he would decide whether to release him or to keep him detained. And he fought back tears when the judge mentioned second-degree murder charges. His parents have to pay $5 a day to the Department of Juvenile Justice for him while he's there.
Yeah, so the 2 times that I actually saw any kind of real emotion from him, when the judge says, I have to decide whether to release you, and that's when he closed his eyes and breathed in. It's almost like, please release me. I mean, I don't know what he thinks they're going to do after what he did. And then when they were talking about at that time, it was second-degree charges. They hadn't upgraded yet. It's almost as if for a moment he realized how serious what he did is and that his life is likely over.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, it just seemed like he was wishing that this judge would release him to his parents.
Yeah. So the state's attorney, R.J. Larissa, said Aiden had previously told friends he was going to kill someone who he didn't name in the woods by stabbing them. And you think, okay, why didn't somebody say something?
Yeah, and I think that these days kids definitely report things more than they did, say, back in the 80s when we were kids, because we just didn't have the means to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, kids have got to understand, even if you think somebody's joking, you've got to tell an adult when they're talking about hurting somebody or themselves.
Oh, yeah, and let it get worked out.
Right, because that prevention could have prevented this if any of those kids had went and said, look, he's saying he's going to murder somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something you joke about.
No.
But I also get their kids and they don't really think it's going to happen. It's just stuff like this should really be a lesson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the prosecutor said there are many cooperating witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden's DNA was found on Tristyn, and her DNA was found on his clothes and the knife.
Yeah, and they've said that he was not under the influence of anything at the time he committed the murder. And at his initial appearance, his family had retained a private attorney, but they were later found to be indigent.
Oh, we've heard that one before.
I forgot how to say that.
No, that's
They ain't got money.
Yeah, they ain't got. They can't pay. That's what Lori said, right?
Right. Yeah. So he is a court-appointed attorney as of now. I think they said a team. They said it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend this kid.
Wow.
So let's talk about his parents.
So his father is Aiden Fucci.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Tennessee. His mother is Crystal Smith, and that's Aiden lived with her.
Yeah. So Crystal, on the initial Zoom hearing the day after her body was found, Tristyn's body was found, she showed a little bit of emotion at that first appearance. She would wipe her eyes. I didn't see a lot of tears, but who am I to judge?
Yeah.
But yesterday she turned herself in for tampering with evidence. They had an arrest warrant for her. The bond was set at $25,000, and she was booked at $12.12 yesterday, and she was released at $140. So I guess she knew it was coming, and she had that bond ready to go.
Yep. So surveillance video inside the home showed her getting the blue jeans he was wearing the night Tristyn was murdered, scrubbing them, and putting the pants back in his bedroom. She did this as soon as deputies left with Aiden.
Yeah. So police, apparently they had surveillance in the home. I have a camera in my home. And I also threaten my kids. They'll say, oh, they did it. I'm like, let me just pull up the video.
Pull up the video.
So the police got the jeans and they were damp. And they got that during a search warrant. And so both the blue jeans and the bathroom sink drain tested positive for blood. And she was seen on that surveillance inspecting the jeans several times. And there was another person in the house. And they also looked at the jeans.
Okay. Red flag.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I don't know the situation, but she's already trying to cover for him.
Right.
It sounds like he's not held accountable for anything.
Yeah. And the witness in the house told her, apparently, because that person has now been interviewed, that she's going to get in trouble for doing this. You're tampering with evidence.
Yeah. Like, that doesn't even make sense. I'm going to tell you, if you kill somebody, I'm telling. I ain't helping you.
Oh, God, yeah. Look, at this point,
I love you, but I ain't helping you.
And I understand it's her son, but maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction to try to protect him. But at the same time, if your kid did this, you're not going to want your kid in your house.
Hey,
you're not going to want to do anything to help your kid not face consequences.
I wonder, and I'm like I said, I don't know the situation, but those kids, you've seen this on movies and stuff, and like this in real life, the kids who run their house.
Oh, yeah.
They tell their parent what to do. So you think about it, his dad wasn't in the home.
Mm-hmm.
So is she married? Was there another male in the home?
I think maybe she's remarried. I don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I think I remember reading.
But like what if he ran that home and told her, you know what I mean?
Some kids are like that. And apparently he had some issues in the past. I think he had to switch schools because of behavior problems. He didn't have any kind of a prior record. And police have said that. But somebody who knew him said that after about December, he kind of changed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that we're going to find out about him in the future. But the witness who was seen on that surveillance when she was washing those jeans said that she couldn't see anything on the jeans at the time. But she questioned why she washed them and then told her, you could get in trouble.
Wow. So looking at the dad, Jason, he's 36. He sat expressionless during Aiden's first appearance. Didn't look affected at all. No.
I mean, he did not look upset, and he has a record that's very questionable too, but he's listed as a manager at Fucci's Full Packaging LLC, which is a landscaping company in Jacksonville. However, he lives in Tennessee right now. But in 2003, when he was 19 years old, he was arrested for having consensual sex, and I put consensual in quotes because with a 15-year-old, and he was 19 at the time. So his charges were lewd battery and child abuse, and he was initially given 2 years probation for that crime, but he was put in jail eventually for 14 months for violating the conditions, and I was not able to find how he violated those conditions, whether it was having contact with the victim or something else.
Yeah. So he also has previously been charged with theft and driving with a suspended license. He had a charge for battery after a fight at a gas station with Aiden present.
Yeah, so that right there goes to show you Dad was not a good influence on this kid.
No. For that, he got 6 months probation, which was ended early, and he had to attend anger management classes.
Yeah. And so the other thing, and we're kind of almost finished with what we know so far on this case, it was so bad. There were so many internet trolls once this murder happened who were just harassing Tristyn's family online. And some were saying they were involved in her death, and they were saying other vile things that we won't even touch with a 10-foot pole on here.
So they were harassing Tristyn's family?
Tristyn's family.
Wow.
And a lot of those accounts were reported to police, which they absolutely followed up on. It's just insane, I think, that we're in a time where you have some, not all kids, but you have some kids who use the internet and being able to be behind a screen to just be nasty.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if they find the kids that did this, because to me, they're hindering the investigation. They're having to use their resources to investigate these online trolls. They're taking time and money away from the murder.
For sure.
By being little clowns and just little punks. So I feel like they ought to bust them and let them spend a year in juvie and see how cool they think they are then.
Yeah. There is no longer right is right and wrong is wrong.
No, there's not. There's excuses for when these kids do wrong a lot of times. Not every parent, but then there are some parents, and I know some of these parents, their kid could do anything, and the parents are going to find an excuse.
Yeah.
You have to raise your kids with a moral compass and accountability.
Yeah.
But most of all, I think the base of it is raising your kids to love and to be a person who helps. But then, you always get into that nature versus nurture argument of, could you take a kid as a blank slate as a newborn and put them with a terrible family where it's drug abuse and they come from a family of doctors and scholars? Is it the environment, or is it something that's innate in them and wired in their DNA? It's all very interesting to me.
Oh, yeah. I always think about your kids. Like, your kids are the best kids. Like, whenever I take them out somewhere, like, we get so many compliments on how good your kids are. They're polite. They're just awesome.
They really are.
And when they're here, they act crazy.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. But, hey, that's okay. I mean, at least...
Yeah. But I always think of that.
Right. But I've never had really, other than just normal childhood stuff, I have 2 teenagers. I've had 0 problems.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky because I know you can do the right things, and sometimes your kid just is a rebel.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm very blessed, and it's hard being a parent, But for me, it just seems like a lot of these kids that get in this kind of trouble, if you look at their childhood, the parents failed on an epic level.
Yes.
And then Shannon Schott, who was a juvenile law expert talking about Aiden, said when a child commits a crime, the village has failed. And I completely disagree.
Yeah.
It is not up to the village to raise your kid. If I see a kid doing something dangerous or whatever out in public, I'm definitely going to say something. But to insinuate that all of us are responsible somehow for these kids that kill, I just don't think. I mean, if there are a bunch of misread flags and school counselors don't follow up or do mandatory reporting, maybe you could say the village failed.
Yeah.
But when it's just a kid who seemingly out of the blue does something like this, I just thought that statement stuck out at me. And I just thought, no.
Well, there had to be some warning signs, and I go back to, you covered Columbine.
Yeah.
I go back to that.
Yes, there were major warning signs that, if you look at the basement tapes, which were filmed shortly before the massacre at Columbine, his mother, Dylan's mother, she wrote a book, which is amazing. She said she literally did not recognize that boy on those tapes, even though he lived under the same roof. And she was very active in his childhood. There was nothing in his childhood that would excuse any of those thoughts. So for me, it kind of goes to that nature versus nurture, where you can do everything right, and sometimes you just got a bad seed.
Yeah, I know of a family who adopted a kid young, and adoption, I love it. Like, these kids are in this foster care system, and there's success stories, and then there's not. But
right.
They adopted a young kid, and he ended up having mental health problems, and they've had to flee and run for their life because he's attempted to kill them.
Yeah,
and it's dangerous. But there's some of those things I think that are just, I don't know.
I mean, we have so many disorders, like, just if you take away the mental aspect, we have so many disorders physically. And it's little things that contribute. And so it's just the same mentally. Yeah. And it might not be anything the parents have done. It's just you go back into family history and you find maybe a relative 2 generations back was schizophrenic. But back then they didn't really diagnose that.
Yeah.
But I think oftentimes you find that somewhere in that family history, there's a history of something.
I always go back to, all kids want their parents to love them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a question.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be loved. They want to be hugged on, loved on, nurtured, taken care of by your parent.
And also structure. I found with my kids, especially with Mason, he thrives on structure.
Yeah. And when that's not there,
yeah,
it becomes an issue.
It really does. And then some kids are just evil. I mean, you can take mental illness out of the picture and just say there are just some evil people in this world. And yes, some of them can be a 14-year-old boy in Florida.
Yeah, who stabs a girl 114 times.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see when this eventually goes to trial, what kind of mitigating factors they throw in there to try to sway a jury to say, look, his upbringing was bad. But then you look at the Columbine kids. I mean, if you look at Eric and Dylan both, Eric's dad was in the Air Force and was super strict. But Dylan, his mom was very hands-on with him as a kid. He did all the normal kid stuff, Boy Scouts, baseball. And then he just his mom really felt like he was suicidal. And Eric manipulated him into doing this. And it was kind of a justification for where maybe he couldn't have killed himself at home on his own. Yeah. But you go into a school and then you've done all these horrible things. Well, either you kill yourself or you're going to be in prison. Yeah. I don't know. There's just so much. It fascinates me.
Well, I'm looking at on our bumper sticker wall, you've got a sticker up that says it's easier to build strong children than repair broken men.
Yeah. And that's I think it's Frederick Douglass quote.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It's, you have to invest in your kids' lives. I mean, and all of us that are parents, that are normal parents, we know that. Your kids are your responsibility, and you have this little blank slate from the minute you bring them home from the hospital. And you can go one of two ways. You can go the right way, or you can just show them everything wrong that parents can do. Yeah. It's just, I think you have those rare cases where the parent does everything right, and something in that kid's brain is just not wired right. there's a hidden mental illness, or they just have evil tendencies.
Yeah. As a parent, you're given a gift. Like, you're given this kid.
Right.
And you have the option. You raise them right, or you don't, and you mess them up for their life.
Yep. And there's no do-overs. I mean, it's not like a video game where you restart.
Nope.
I mean, and I think sometimes by the time maybe parents get their stuff together, the impressionable years are over.
Yeah.
And you've already set the foundation for who they're going to be based on what they were around when they were little.
Yeah.
And you look at like Tylee, where Colby said she had a lot of anxiety, but we talked about it. You look at the early days of what that kid was put through. Who wouldn't have anxiety? Who would not have trust issues?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, parents, I think as a whole, we just, it's a responsibility. And, you know, unless you're in a strange situation where everything's right and your kid's just bad, it's just a big responsibility. And if you think about it, there are times when I had little babies and I thought, I'm never not going to have toddlers. It just seemed like, and I enjoyed every minute, but sometimes you want them to be a little more independent or whatever. And then I've struggled with this lately. I turn around, I've got teenagers and I've got a 10-year-old. And it goes faster than you think. And so we get caught up in life, in our own lives, and we forget every day our kids are watching us and they're looking for us to be examples.
Yeah. I remember you told me one time, and I think it was with Mason or something, I don't know, because your kids are mature. Mm-hmm. And they were when they were younger, they were mature. But you looked at me and said, you can't treat them, and you wasn't telling me this, you were just talking in general. You can't treat them like an adult. They're kids.
Right. Exactly.
They're 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah. They've got plenty of time to be adults. I mean, you're going to spend most of your life being an adult as opposed to childhood. And so for me, I just wanted to make sure my kids had a very happy childhood. And we had rough times in the middle of them growing up, but we got through it as a family.
Yeah.
And they know they have a safe place here and no judgment. And, you know, my kids come to me about everything, and I appreciate that. But I also understand that some parents do the right thing and their kids just hate them.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's been times in these teen years where, you know, a random day or so, I'm like, they hate me.
An alien has abducted them.
Yeah. What happened?
What in the world?
Yeah. We just, I think as parents, and I guess even, I say, I didn't agree with the village statement, blaming the village for Aiden. But I think too, I mean, people that are invested in kids, whether it be social work or teachers or counselors or whatever, that's the village.
Yeah.
The village are people who are mandatory reporters. I mean, I did mandatory reporting once, and this was in the school district, and I had the door shut on me.
Oh, yeah.
So I just went to the State Department, filed a complaint against a teacher who I saw hit a special needs child on the rear end, and they didn't want the drama of having that become public due to donors and that kind of thing, that they swept it under the rug, and she's still a teacher there.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can do the right thing, and we see that all the time in these cases, but it's just something I worry about, because I don't want my daughter to end up hanging out with a kid like Aiden and just have good intentions and be nice. And then that's what scares me, is you could have the best, most mature kids in the world, but that whole saying of your heart walks around outside your chest the minute you have a kid is very true.
Yep.
Because there comes a point where you're not going to be holding their hand and taking them everywhere. You're going to drop them off. You're going to let them drive off. And all you can do is hope and pray that they don't come across an Aiden.
And I ain't gonna lie, when your kids are like my kids.
Yeah, they love you like
I don't
a mom.
have kids, and they're like my kids. So when they go off with their friends in a car, I'm like, wait a minute.
I know. It's such an odd feeling.
Yeah, what?
I know. And it's just going to get worse. I mean, Taylor's scared to death to drive. She could have her restricted now, but I mean, next year Mason comes up and drives, and it's just, oh my gosh, it is scary being a parent, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'm just so grateful. I have good kids, and even if I didn't have great kids, I would love them.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what you do. And so anyways, that's all we have for today. Sorry about our little parent.
I know, right? We got on a little tangent there.
That's okay. It's just, I think day-to-day life and the chaos that whether it's jobs or marital stress or whatever, you still have to keep at the top of your brain. You are raising humans that are going to be around longer than you are, hopefully. And
they also going to be taken care of you, so you better raise them right.
I'm super nice sometimes.
They're going to choose what nursing home you go to.
Heck yeah, I done figured out Sarah Rose will be the one to bring me the band stuff in there.
That's right.
She's my little rebel.
She'll bring you a knife and your cake or something.
Yeah, but hey, man, you just got to take it day to day and just keep them at the top of the list, priorities, because, you're putting them out into the world at some point, and then they'll raise their own kids, and a lot of times they raise their kids the way they were raised. That's how you make a difference in the world.
Yep.
You start with your kids. And like my parents started with me, and then I'm going with my kids, and their kids may be, the same way. So to me, that's how that's how you make a difference in the world. That's the biggest difference I want to make in the world, is raising good humans, and then eventually they raise their own kids to be good humans.
Oh yeah,
that's all. All right, guys. So Wednesday is the big one.
Oh yeah. So remember, we're gonna do the live event Wednesday at 9 or 10, right?
Yeah, kind of whatever works for you. Y'all got rehearsals for the play, so we'll just work around that. If it's a little later, it helps the West Coast people.
Yep.
And then we have a sign up on Facebook for that. I don't think you can do an event on Twitter, but if you're on Facebook, just kind of go and check that you're going to go or you're interested, so we kind of get an idea of how many people we're going to have. And it's just going to be a great day. Chad goes in for his arraignment on the murder charges. We'll cover that live. And then we'll do an episode where we discuss that, and then we'll go live and just have a blast, and we'll end it when we end it.
And ask away.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, anything about the cases we've covered, nothing like law related that we would have to Google. But
yeah, we have to get with our people.
But, if you guys just want to ask questions about our friendship or the podcast or whatever, it's just wide open.
Yeah, what my favorite dessert is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm game.
All
ask away.
All right, guys. So we will see you on Wednesday, 1 year birthday for this podcast.
Good night.
Good night.